Hello, good evening everybody, welcome along to the JACKOCAR Cup Series here for Season 5, Round 9, here for the Belgian Grand Prix. And look at us starting a minute early. Who else can do that on a consistent basis? I'm your commentator Owen Wyatt, with me is Jacko, and look at us, back in the commentary box. I cannot wait for this one.
You're the bread to my butter, I think, Mr. Wyatt. But you mentioned we're going early, but I think this is the first time this season we've actually gone early, as opposed to on time or late, as we've become slightly accustomed to, sadly.
Wow.
But it is what it is. 1 minute to the hour of 7 p.m. So why not? Let's kick things off. The penultimate round of the regular season, Season 5, Cup Series, JACKOCAR, and it's good to have you back. How was your experience last week? Did you enjoy that?
It was good fun, yeah. A lot of overtaking, didn't crash, and didn't forget to do my two-stop, so I did everything correctly, thank goodness.
Well done. I must admit, me and Arnold did enjoy watching a few of those unexpected manoeuvres, let's say, but all within the league rules, so all good. And but yeah, you're very much back in your box, aren't you?
Yes,
So
I think we picked a good track for it as well, because we are at Spa, which is just an iconic track for JACKOCAR. The amount of moments that have happened here, I'm hoping that the drivers can add to some of those tonight. Always great with a full grid. That run up to Eau Rouge on the first lap, who knows what's going to happen tonight, because we're at that crucial point now of the season where they really need to be getting the results in. If they aren't quite in the playoffs yet, they've only got 2 more rounds to do it.
absolutely spot on. And we speak about playoffs and the playoff bubble. You look at Pete Knighton, obviously I'll say it again, Season 1 champion, down there in P10, 1 point to the good over Cup Series rookie Gareth Hall. So anything can happen, really. It's still very much wide open. And before we forget, Owen, I did put in the tweet this morning that there is going to be one Joker. That is not the case. He is not racing. It was Tees. I still don't know how to pronounce it. Arnold told me last week, but I've forgotten. He's not here, so your stages are lap 6 and lap 11. But replacing Tees is Arnold himself, back for his 67th start. We've also got Yuri in, as per usual, and Vitinho is a late addition, replacing Kyle. But that is the only changes. And speaking of Yuri, away he goes.
Yes, so Yuri coming out of the pit lane. He is in his Ferrari colours, I've seen. So he quite liked that in throwback week. I didn't actually see what he was running last week, but yep, looking good this week. And yeah, I am fascinated with this situation, with the playoff situation. With Arnold being back, I do wonder whether he could be a threat for the victory tonight, and whether that could actually mess with people's sort of predictions to get through. Because that could actually really mess them up if it goes a bit wrong.
Yeah, I did mention it in another tweet, again, about an hour ago now, saying how the last time he raced here in Cup Series, when he was full-time,
didn't
he went from last to first. And in fact, that was his second of 2 in a row of last to firsts. And of course, that advanced him to the round of 8, and very much on his way to a Championship 5 once again. But yeah, what can he do tonight? He is out second, an unfamiliar position. But we'll worry about that in a minute or so. Let's just get Yuri out the way with first. Jokes in the paddock in the chat earlier saying he may as well be a full-time driver now. Yes. 9 races in a row.
Pretty much, isn't he? I mean, he's been a nice and consistent driver to have, and yeah, we're just waiting for the big result for him now, really, aren't we? Because he's shown flashes, as he has done through his whole JACKOCAR career. We're still waiting for that big moment where he goes and rocks up on the podium or the win, and you can get out of your seat and start celebrating again. I will never let you forget that, of course.
Is that Germany Season 1 style you refer to?
Yes.
Oh, I miss Germany. What a track that was.
I know. Anyway, we've got a lap starting.
Take us for a lap, Mr. Wyatt.
As long as he doesn't invalidate, this will go P1, so there will be a fist bump at the end of it, as long as he can get himself round. Now, the traction out of the first quarter is actually a little bit more difficult than you'd expect. Just with the way the track dips down on the apex, it can be a bit difficult. You can lose a bit of time there. Eau Rouge should be easy flat, up free rally on as well. As long as you just sort of keep your composure and take the right line, you'll be fine. Even in the race as well. It's not as bad as it used to be on the other F1 games. They've got it a bit more sort of stable this time. Le Combe chicane, these ones are quite difficult. If you touch too much at the curb on the inside, you can end up spinning off, and you might want to be a bit hesitant on the throttle since it's your only try, and Yuri has got through there okay. I imagine pole's probably going to be decided by who gets that chicane right, if I'm honest. Traction here is also a bit difficult, and into Nonium as well. You actually want to be all over the curbs. That was too much, but on the curb on the way in, get on top of that, and practically you drift it through the corner. It's a unique corner on this game, and I imagine Yuri's probably got front wing damage now from the exit. You saw that through Pouon, and yeah, definitely a lot of understeer. So as long as he gets to the end of the lap, at least you'll have a time on the board. But yeah, we're seeing the difficulties of this Spa track already. And, well, from here to the end of the lap, as long as the front wing's not too badly damaged, you should still be able to go flat out to the bus stop chicane, which isn't really a bus stop anymore. But we've said that for the last, 15 years it's been like that, and they've still called it the bus stop. Maybe they'll reprofile it with the rest of the stuff they're doing to the track this year. But as he comes into the bus stop, let's see how he gets on. Decent, considering he's got the damage. Again, don't want to get too much on those curbs because it can affect your traction on the exit if you're a little bit unstable coming out, but that is the first lap of qualifying. I'm expecting Arnaud will absolutely blitz this in what is, I think, one of the new liveries from Season 5 of the Podium Pass. I'm a fan of this one, and it works quite well with his traditional colours.
It sure does, and of course anybody who tuned in from the very start of the stream last week, they will know the accolades that this man has, and by racing tonight, if he wins the race, he will be the first and only, of course, it's the same thing, first and only driver to reach 800 points in the league. He'll go to 801, and of course no Kyle means he's actually going to extend his gap, providing he finishes. It's Arnaud de Grief, back for one night only, up to the line. And it's going to be a 142.3, but of course that gap to Yuri is enhanced by the wing damage that Yuri suffered.
Yeah, but that is probably going to be a competitive lap. We know how quick he is, and this season he doesn't have Khalifa with him to make his life difficult, so he might have a bit of an easier run to P1. But we'll see what the likes of Red Matt do later on, the quality merchant he's been this season, as we see Jake coming through in his final sector. Still got the nice red on his car. Big fan of this one still. And
I do think he should maybe change it because it's not bringing him much luck. Another DNF last week in Portugal. But 5 points on the board. He's going for a chase campaign now, isn't he?
And this is a good thing, though. I mean, we know how quick he is. He goes second fastest, and
Good lap.
This hasn't gone well from the first part of the season. I mean, it's pretty obvious to see. It might go down as honestly the worst regular season of a full-time driver I've ever seen. And partly his fault, partly just bad luck, but he has a chance for the chase now. And that, I suppose, will be his main priority. If he can sneak in a win to, this week or next week, that'll be fantastic, of course. But I do wonder if someone like him might actually fancy his chances more of getting to the Championship 5 via the chase, whether he doesn't actually want to be in the playoffs at all.
Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. As another debutant, well, not a debutant, second race start now for Jake. He goes P3. Had a little bit of went kind of undercover, didn't he, last week? All the attention was on you, Mr. Wyatt. But Jake now officially full-time, so that's 2 Jakes in a Cup Series.
Yes. Don't worry, I noticed him last week.
As you were passing him.
Yeah. I was sitting there thinking, good, the commentators are all taking control this week.
That's it, we've all had a go, haven't we?
Yeah.
Even I've had a go there, so yeah. And moving on then to Mr. Byers, back from his race ban, naughty. Has he changed his car again? Because it looks a lot better this week.
I think he's still with the general purple, but maybe with a different format. I think it is slightly different. He's got the bit of pink on there too. Yeah, I like it. I don't actually know if it's different or not, but either way, it's a nice livery regardless.
Indeed. Works very well in this light. And here's a new livery for Michael O'Kk.
Let's see this then, as he comes through. It's a big departure from what he normally does, isn't it? We got some of the really sort of Aston Martin green, a bit of black, a bit of sort of a bronze colour and some red, all sorts on this. Very unique. Wonder what this is sort of inspired by.
It's very Spiker, I think.
Yeah, I could see it. Yeah,
Marcus Winkelhock vibes I get from that. But
Certainly.
a man we await big things from. You know, this is a two-time race winner. He just can't put it together, can he? And it's frustrating as a fan. I know as a league owner, you're not meant to have favourites, but who doesn't like OKK? And I just want to see him do well, and it's just not happening for him again this season. Into the bus stop he comes. What sort of time is he going to put on the board for us?
Well, let's see. DRS Open, not going to be P1, going to be P5. I mean, look, again, all it takes is one really good race, doesn't it? So, I'm sure it'll come eventually for him. We know he's a good driver. We also know Risky's a good driver, but unfortunately, he has invalidated on his lap. And so this would have been up in possibly third place, but not anymore.
No wing for Jamie Griffiths, by the way. And another new livery as well, saying that, but I don't think it's worth watching him. He's not going to be very fast. Oh. Owen, you've gone very quiet.
Yes, I have gone quiet. People invaded my room. Right, hello.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a shame that he's lost that front wing because, well, we know he's got some good pace, but we'll see him from the back perhaps do a good job. The right thing he's doing is finishing the lap, but I wonder how many people actually sort of forget you can still do that. He's still got a valid time, and so if people do end up with invalid times, he may actually start a bit higher than you'd think. So he is doing the right thing by keeping on going here and not invalidating. It is easy to lose your head in this sort of situation.
Oh, Mike's just done the invalidation thing. Sorry to interrupt there, Owen.
Yeah, let's actually have a look at him. Let's see, because I've seen he's got a new livery as well.
Of course, even if you invalidate, you still have to finish the lap as per league rules. So Mike will complete that, but it gives us a chance to move on to Ben Harrett. Currently sits 12th, I believe, in the standings. Yeah, he does. So he's only 4 or 5 points off the cut line behind Pete. Of course, Gareth in between those two. The game telling us it's a purple sector 1, but I don't know how true that is.
I think it was it. Was it at this track where he made his debut last season, and he had such a difficult time, and really his whole sort of first half season, he really struggled to get into it. And it's good to see him so close actually to getting into the playoffs. Unfortunately, I'm praising him. He's gone and validated his time, but still, only 5 points off. He's a lot of improvement, I think, since last season.
Absolutely. His debut actually came at round 5 last season, and we had the back-to-back Britain races. He did the first one of that, and then when he did get to Belgium, he finished with 4 points on the board, which I think is P13 as I look up and see him in the wall.
Yes, he went for a spin, and he's might get away with Gareth, mind you. He's also invalidated this time. A lot of people starting to invalidate. I wonder how Pete is getting on. He's about to start his lap, and he is a driver under some pressure. He is 1 point safe in the playoffs, and that, let's be honest, isn't good enough. So he needs to seriously make sure that he has a good week. We know he's been a bit unlucky, but if he can get into the playoffs, maybe it will start to come together from there. We all know he's capable of it because he won the first ever JACKOCAR championship, but since then, bit turbulent. Wonder if this will be an improvement tonight.
And I hate to cause a stir, but I've heard a couple of people mention that this man might just be throwing the playoffs in order to have a run in the chase. Thoughts on that? Just said it's definitely worth keeping an eye on him tonight.
Well, this is it. That's what I said with Jake as well. Perhaps the quicker drivers maybe fancy their chances in the chase rather than the playoffs because, I suppose if you're in the bottom 10, you're in the chase, you're saying it as maybe you're the only fast driver out of 10 and you've had a really bad season like Jake has. You're a surefire winner, assuming you can get your form up to scratch. And I suppose Pete maybe might just think, do you know what, even if I am in the chase, if Jake keeps crashing, maybe I'll just be able to win it. So, it'll be interesting to see if someone does that tactically. I'm sure they have before, but it'll be at the back of these guys' minds.
Based on current form as well, if he were to go into a chase, he would make the Championship 5. A first return since Season 1. And what sort of confidence does that do to him going into Season 6?
Exactly. I mean, we also know how his playoff campaigns have gone. I mean, one of the most famous moments in JACKOCAR's history is when we were on board with him when he spun off on the final lap of the Canada race in Season 2, and that, if he just got round the rest of that lap, he would have been in the Championship 5. He's gone P3 today, so that is a good lap. But let's see if it can hold. We've got Jordan kind of around the final corner.
Right behind him, yeah, he's already there.
And he's gone
P5.
And let's see, where is he?
Esti Mats,
there he is.
another man who still continues to impress this season. We love watching him every week now, but again, much like OKK, when's his next big break going to come through? You know, even just a top 5. Well, it's got to happen. It's got to happen.
If he wants to progress in the playoffs, because it looks like he's going to make it, he does need to be a bit more sort of up there. We know his consistency is good for the first part of the season, but when we get into the last rounds of the playoffs and you need to be picking up podiums and stuff like that just to get the points, that's where he'll need to up his game. But for now, he is doing a superb job. And I think he's gone a sort of different route to what we've seen with other drivers, where he has sort of just... Mind you, we say this every week, he's come sort of quietly and ended up in this. We sort of mention him every week now, so clearly we're noticing. I'm sure the other drivers are noticing him as well. And as he comes out of the final corner, let's see how his qualifying is. It looks good, it's P2.
I'm also noticing that the sun's starting to shine on that final corner.
Yes.
So these laps are going to get very quick as we head into the faster guys. The guys that are leading the way in the championship at the moment.
Yeah.
First up is Casper.
Watching our 2-time winner this season, or just a 1-time winner actually, wasn't it? The second? Was it the second highest victory margin, wasn't it, of the history of the league?
Second highest, yeah. And he is a 2-time winner, but only one this season. As he goes P1, Arnold won't be on pole on his return.
He'll be devastated at that.
He will as well.
He will.
It brings out the racer in him, does this league. Who have we got next? Jamie Wright.
Jamie, the man who stole a debut pole off me last week. By it wasn't very much, was it? It was like 600ths of a second. Very close qualifying. But he nicked it off me, but then I beat him in the race. So, I mean, who's laughing now? But as he comes through the middle sector, we will see how he gets on. It doesn't show any purples or anything through there. Mind you, even if it did, it'd be wrong. So let's just wait and see as he comes through in the purple machine.
Of course, that was a good battle with you and Jamie last week in the opening stint, and you stole a playoff point from him. 2 actually, because you stole the podium as well.
Yeah.
So he did say to me coming into tonight, this is a race that he can win. Up to the line comes Jamie. It's P3.
It's close.
So look out for him later on.
This top 3 is very close together. I'm liking the look of this. And Kieran, the man who stole the restart off me, off Jamie, off of... who else was it? Jamie, well, both Jamie, sorry.
I think it's both Jamies, yeah.
Yes, it's where we got that 4-wide shot that you might have seen on Twitter that we were using to promote tonight's race. And it was him that got the restart, and he led the race for a little bit, and he had a very good drive in general, and... do you know what? Actually, I was in the party with him, and he was a lot calmer than you might expect. Because sometimes in the chat he's a bit over the top. But actually, when he's racing, he's pretty calm. But something's gone horribly wrong on this lap, unfortunately, and he's going to have to make a lot of overtakes tonight.
I look forward to seeing him fight through the field then down there.
He broke his wing. That's what he did.
I didn't see that. Let's move to Vitinho, a late call-up in place of Kyle Smith. That's 2 weeks in a row. He's not here now.
Ooh, I like this.
But Vitinho back in Cup. Of course, he was full-time last season, missed out on the playoffs on countback, you may recall, because Jordan overtook him, and that put Pete into the playoffs. Pete down in P10, we've heard that before. But what can Vitinho do tonight? The only Brazilian driver, the only South American driver actually in JACKOCAR. Round the final sector he comes and into the bus stop, which isn't the bus stop, as you've rightfully called already, Mr. Wyatt. But good to see Vitinho back in Cup Series, one of the more trusted drivers from Kia, and he goes 14th.
Nice livery on that. I'm a fan, apart from maybe the little bits of lime green, but actually it's quite a nice livery, that one. Looking forward to seeing those colours later on tonight. Another man running the gold is Red Matt, coming through, and he is getting ready to see if he can get onto pole position. I wouldn't be surprised if he managed it tonight. We know how good he is at qualifying these days. He's got a 42.3 to beat. and he doesn't quite get there actually. Only 4 fastest. That top 4 only separated by a 10th and a half. Can Iceman get into that group? Can he top that group? It's the last lap of the session.
Of course, and the most recent race winner, Iceman, winning the last 2. Incredible last week on his Joker. Red Matt dominated the race. Had it been any other league, Red Matt would have had it wrapped up. But Iceman, and using the advantage that the JACKOCAR League offers with that Joker strategy, played it beautifully, didn't he? 14 seconds behind and ended up winning by, I think, 4 or 5 over Red Matt. But what can Iceman do tonight? Into the final 2 corners he comes. He's had 3 poles already this season and is second at the moment in playoff points and leads the points. He could win the regular season championship tonight, but it's only P5. Casper gets his second JACKOCAR pole, and we have a hell of a grid lined up, don't we, for this race? ST Mats, by the way, my driver of qualifying up there in P6. Keep an eye out for him.
Very close session, one of the closer ones we've had this season. And that tends to happen quite a lot actually at Spa. Despite it being the longest track on the calendar, people do get very close to each other. And it's good to see Casper on pole, Arnaud, Jamie, all right up there. And I say that run up towards Eau Rouge and Radion and Le Calme, all of that stuff on the first lap. Even the dive into turn 1, it's such a wide corner. A lot of action in store for this one.
Yep, and Kieran just confirming he actually crashed on the pit exit on his outlap, which is why his time was so bad. But Casper steals pole from Arnaud. I'll let you do the rundown.
So, Casper on pole, Arnaud, Jamie, Red Matt, Iceman, ST Matt, Jake, Pete, Connor and Jordan. We'll start on those softs, assuming it's a dry race. Jake 11th, OKK 12th, Yuri, Kieran, Jamie, Patino, NK Bourne, Risky, Ben and Gareth. They'll all get free tyre choice, again assuming that we are starting on a dry track.
Yep. Jake Warrior matching his qualifying from last week as well, 11th, and he finished the race 9th, so strong start to his Cup career. Of course, going very well in Kia at the moment, leading the regular season with I think 2 or 3 races to go there. And I did briefly mention it as well at the end of qualifying. Iceman could win the Cup Series regular season championship tonight. All he has to do is outscore a Red Matt. That is as simple as that.
And as you can see, it is a dry start to this race. And yeah, I've got to say, I've been looking forward to this one in Austria. It's a very good 2 races to finish off a regular season. And so, yeah, I'm fascinated to see how this one's going to go. We've seen so many upsets here before. We've seen last to firsts here before. We've seen multi-car pilots. We've seen professional racing drivers upside down. Honestly,
we've had a charity event as well here.
Charity event where
that was good.
A certain Belgian man spun 3 or 4 times in one race under safety car. It was very funny. And a certain league owner was mediocre.
What?
Nah.
I recall the moment that after I crashed out, I joined you in commentary.
You did, yeah. Me and Austin had a long argument over the last 3 or 4 laps about whether you should pit for quicker tyres or just stay out. And look, I might have been wrong, but it was a fun time. So this track has got good JACKOCAR memories.
It's one of those, and it's like Silverstone in Austria. It's just part of the calendar. You can't have a JACKOCAR season without Belgium, as we get underway for the formation lap to begin round 9, the penultimate regular season race of the Cup Series 5th season.
Now, a trend we've seen quite a lot in this season and in previous seasons for any league actually that does a 2-stop around this track, which of course all drivers are going to be doing tonight, is that they actually pit in the opening laps. I think that's what Red Matt did last week to win the race. I wouldn't actually know. All I know is he just spawned at the front all of a sudden, and so I'm assuming he probably did the pit very early strategy. And it's probably the most popular one around here because the tyres last forever. So you can get off softs or mediums even straight away and just do 2 soft ones because there'll be safety cars in this race, you know. So the strategy might actually be very interesting tonight. It depends on how many decide to pit on lap 1 or 2 or 3.
Yeah, definitely. But of course, in JACKOCAR, you have to keep in mind that strategy is not everything. Lady Luck plays its part very much. And of course, everyone in chat earlier was saying how Arnaud has ridden his luck once or twice in his home Grand Prix. Will it?
We call it
You
luck.
know what I mean?
We call it luck.
JACKOCAR luck or JACKOCAR bullshit, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
But,
I think season 2 was the origin of accidentally losing massive amounts of your car so you can put under safety car. It's the reason that rule no longer exists after Kieran slightly exploited it in the season finale last season. But I think Arnaud was the first to really experiment with how far you can go with that, and it was here on the run down Gilles Rouge, whereas front Wayne just went missing under safety car. It was fascinating, and he won the race.
He did, and of course, last season with that last to first, I mean, you can't just do that. You do need to have a bit of luck on your side, safety cars and yellow flags to go your way. But it's one of those races that can deliver. And as I look down through the running order, I mean, you got SD Mats up there. I see Jake up there in P7. Connor, you could say, out of position in P9. That's quite high for him. And some of the faster boys coming through from the back as well. People like Kieran, he's one to keep your eye on. Jamie Griffiths can have a good race here and there. Of course, won Monza last season, you will recall. But I think it's set up nicely, isn't it? We've got the return of Arnaud. We've got Vitinho back in Cup. Of course, Jake now full-time in the Cup Series. But, as always, Mr. White, we don't quite know what's going to happen until we see the checkered flag fly on lap 22. As I will now hand over for your bit.
Yes, Casper then will line up on pole. It's not the longest run to that turn 1, but like I say, there's so much potential for moves, and so I'm very interested to see how they all handle it. But we're just waiting for the last couple of cars to crawl onto their start line. They've finally made it, and we look up to the lights then for the start of the Belgian Grand Prix. It is Casper on the left, it's Arnaud on the right, all 5 lights are on, boogity boogity boogity. Let's go racing in Spa. Looks like a decent start from Casper, should hold that lead into turn 1. And we have a little bit of side by side. Red Matt trying to get through on Jamie, but Jamie's actually tried to make a move on Arnaud. A bit of a late one, didn't work out. A few cars going wide, and we'll see what the runs are like up the hill. Arnaud's hung back a little bit on Casper. Jamie's right up his rear. But will the slipstream help them through as they head on to the end of the first sector? And there's a lot of pressure behind for Redmat. He's being overtaken by Jake by the looks of it. Iceman might get involved as well. Jamie thought about it on the inside of Redmat, and there's a bit of contact, and there's a few cars losing bits of bodywork. I'm not entirely sure who that was. I think it might have been SD Mats it was, who's broken his front wing, and he's going to fall right down the field. We've seen Pete up there in 6th place, decent start, trying to keep himself out of trouble. Vitinho, currently the highest man on medium, so we'll see how he goes. How many are going to pit at the end of this first lap, and how many of them are going to do it for strategy, or is it going to be for damage? Because there's so much fighting in this midfield, Jacko.
Yeah, and what a cracking start for OKK as well, all the way up in P9. Pete as well, you mentioned up there in 6th, and Jake has made up a position on Catchman, Jake O'Sullivan. It's looking very lively. Kieran also has started to make a few moves. It's very mixed up and still very close together. Of course, this is the track where we first saw drivers make lap 1 pit stops when we introduced that rule. I wonder, as you say, is anybody going to try it here tonight? As there's a few more changes. Iceman must have wing damage. He's all the way down at the back.
Here comes
in
Arnaud
contention
for
for that regular season championship. But
sorry to
struggling at the
interrupt,
moment.
but Arnaud fancies taking the lead here right at the end of lap 1. And he will do, because Casper's beelined it for the pits. He's hit the wall a little bit on the way in, I think only with the rear. Arnaud, the only one of the top 5 here staying out. The rest, we'll see how many else pit, but Arnaud's going to have a nice, healthy lead. Will he stay out to get the first playoff point? Is that too long for him to start? I think it's lap 6 he'd have to start to get that.
Lap 6, yeah.
That'll be a massive undercut the rest of the field's going to get. But in fairness, it's it's not like his tyres are very old. But the guys who are pitting right now, Ben's actually gone for hard. Everyone from 9th downwards, so we'll have that 12 in the pits, few for damage, few for strategy. Most have gone to mediums. Like I say, Ben's the only one onto the hards, and we've got SD Match, Jamie and Jake on softs. And so we'll keep an eye on their progress and what they're going to do. as they all come back out. Casper is not quite a second clear. Jamie, that'll be his first main sort of priority because he's in plenty of clean air. And NK Bourne already with a penalty. That wasn't didn't take too long.
Not at all. 2 laps in. That's certainly spiced up a bit, hasn't it? Over half the field pitting on lap 1. Of course, you did mention the tyres. They can go a long way on this track. So what does that leave the likes of Arnold, Pete and Connor, Vitinho? What are they all going to do? Are they going to go long and do 2 late stops? And I don't know, it's all to find out, all to play for, isn't it? But Casper looking good up in P9, the front runner on the out of the stopping drivers.
Looks like Jamie's done quite well to stay close because he's actually broken what would be DRS to Red Mat. And Jamie, like I say, holding his own against Casper. So when DRS gets enabled on the next lap, that could be the scrap for the lead. And looking elsewhere, looks like Kieran fancies a look. Arnold is going to pit then. Maybe it'll be a medium driver that stays out and goes to the playoff point because it looks
Vitinho will stay out.
Vitinho and Kieran stay out. So Kieran, yeah, these are the top 2 on medium, so it makes sense for them to stay out, I suppose. Pit a little bit later and just do 2 quick stops on the softs. I think it's only there were only 4 people who started on mediums, so they're the only ones who haven't pitted yet. So who's going to come out where? Arnold, has he done the overcut? Not quite. And I tell you what, Jamie, where's he going to go? Because the temptation must have been there to go for into Eau Rouge, but instead he's going to do it on the top of the hill, and he still can't get through. Jake just behind these lot, he's got a penalty. He's on the sauce at the moment. He really could have done with not really picking that up, because this is when he needs to be making some good ground. He's going to try and get by Rema, but I'm looking at Jamie trying to get by Arnold. Hasn't quite managed it. Jake has. He's up into 8th place. Say ahead of Red Mat, but wow, this top 3, very close indeed, and Arnold's done well on his ERS. There's a car off and out in Eau Rouge, I believe.
7K Bourne.
Or actually, it's at the top of Radion, isn't it? And that's going to be a virtual safety car. There you can see the car off.
I was just looking at Jamie Griffiths down in P19. He's made his 2nd stop. I think he would have been hoping for a safety car there. So that's all strategy. Of course, reminder, you are allowed to make a mandatory stop under VSC. It's only safety cars where they do not count towards your race total.
You've got to be so patient here, but these guys are going to try and hightail it to the pits. If you're Kieran right now, you are sitting there thinking, oh my god, 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 get me to the pits. But look at it, he's floored it. I'm wondering if VSC's about to end. I hope not for his sake, because this would be a great moment for him.
Oh, Vitinho also goes into the back of him.
Well, I saw Kieran had put the brakes on pretty much full on, and well, Jake has sped on his mediums. He'll be kicking himself. Kieran might have saved a second or 2, which doesn't sound like much. He's clearly thought he could floor it to the pit lane, and then he's realised his delta just caught up with him, and so he's had to quickly put the brakes on. I wouldn't say it was anything malicious what he did there. It's just strategy not quite working.
It's the way the delta works on this game. It's so inconsistent from track to track, but we got a great battle for the lead.
We do indeed.
Risky versus Vitinho. Look at this. Risky's going to go for it down the inside, is he? Yes, he is, and gets it done, but Vitinho's going to hang out around the outside. Risky spins. Unbelievable. Vitinho will drive away. And Arnold is now P2, is he? Oh, Casper's going to follow him through. But we missed that. Arnold's actually got in front of Casper somehow.
Yeah, I had to flick between the 2 battles to try and see if I could catch the overtake on both. And I may have missed them on both, actually, but I did my best. Jake has had an incident up the hill. Has he got... No, he's not got a puncture or anything. He just lost a lot of time. I'm not entirely sure what happened to him, but he's now down in 18th. Risky will have probably overheated his tyres with the moment he had, so that's probably not going to be good news for him. You will have noticed that Jamie also took his 2nd stop. I'm just going to actually check who has all made their 2nd stops. I'm pretty sure Jamie's the lead of that group. So yeah,
both Jamies. That's it.
Yes. So he's now in the back of KK. J-Luke is. We're watching him on board. Will Vitinho make his 1st stop yet? Risky probably will. Oh, okay, is he going to hit the wall? He might well have done, and he's now slowing right down to let people through. having gone off at the exit of the Fania chicane. Lucky to still really be in the race after that, to be honest. Now, Peter, we have got Casper. So he's going to cover off what Jamie's been doing. The rest look like they're happy to stay out for now. Apart from Jordan, he's in. Of course, you don't want to finish your strategy too early because, I mean, again, I'll say safety cars will happen, probably, but if they don't happen at the right time, you want to be on a nice, fresh set of softs on your two-stop. Say you can just complete the two-stop in a green flag race. You'd want to be on sauce later on. Of course, it's very difficult to predict if that's going to work, but I'm sure someone out there will just do a normal strategy, if we can call it that, as Red Knight goes ahead of Risky. And let's see how far Jamie is ahead of Casper. It's a decent gap. He'll probably feel relatively confident about being ahead of Arnold, having seen how far he is ahead of Casper. But we'll see how that all pans out. Still in some nice clean air is Jamie, and he's nearly 2 seconds up on his best first sector in the race so far. It's been quite a disrupted start by the signs of that, if you look at his sectors, but he's in the clean air now and making the time up.
Yep, and I just wonder what Vitinho and Risky's plans are at this point. The only driver's yet to stop. I appreciate they're both on mediums. Vitinho's here for fun, so I guess he will stay out and lead as many laps as possible. Maybe even still a stage point at the end of the next lap. But Risky, he's very much in contention for things. So I'd like to think, surely by now you'd at least get your first stop out the way with, knowing how quickly things can turn around in JACKOCAR.
Yeah, I think at least have one stop made by this point, just to be a safety net. I think Vitinho is pitting now. Arnold stays out, Jake stays out, Red Matt stays out, Risky stays out. And Jake does set the fastest lap on those softs, so he's making some use of them. If he got that penalty, it's really going to harm him. Kieran hasn't got a penalty, he's now set his own fastest lap. And Vitinho will come out of the pit after his first stop around where Jamie is, just in front of Yuri, which, yeah, he'll need a safety car probably to help him out a little bit, but it's not the worst position in the world to be in. But let's see, up at the front, Jake, did he have DRS? I'm not sure he did actually on Arnold, but he seems quicker than him.
But he didn't have it, but he did gain a tenth on Arnold. So I think we do have a bit of a race developing here. The two leaders, of course, both on the one stop so far. Yeah, it's sort of settled down briefly, hasn't it? Arnold, by the way, has led 3 laps so far. Of course, the all-time laps leader. Picking up from where he left off from.
Are we surprised?
Not at all. It's Belgium as well.
Stage winning coming
up,
as well. Stage winning coming. Things I never saw coming. I tell you what, though, on things I never saw coming, this... Oh, I think Risky's off again.
He is.
This is a safety car.
Oh!
Wow, that surprises me. He must have lost his full front when he has, yeah, but even still.
And this now
who
ruins
is laughing
Risky's race
right now? Because I'm telling you, Jamie will be dancing. He'll have just put his car on AI and he'll absolutely be loving every second of this. As will the other Jamie, actually. Both Jamies will be thrilled at this. Now, of course, you can still pit, so these guys are going to pit. They might as well. Oh, did Jake get the wall, or did he just sort of have a half slide? Don't want to really be sliding at all. Kieran stays out. I guess he'll just make a second stop later on. And maybe try and go for sort of a shorter end stint. I mean, it's not like your race is ruined here if you haven't finished your second stop, because there's so long to go that when you put new tyres on, they'll be so much quicker. But still, do you know what? We'll see what happens. I'm going to let all these pit stops come through first, and then we'll figure it all out. Because there is quite a lot to figure out. And it's 5-second penalties being thrown out as well. These guys love to make it complicated for us, don't they?
I'm just about keeping up with it at the moment.
Good.
So I have it down as Arnold, Jake O'Sullivan, Red Matt Risky, Jamie G, Ben H and Yuri have all made non-mandatory stops here.
Give of course the list again, just so I can cross-check
Arnold, Jake OS, Red Matt, Risky, Jamie Griffiths, Ben Harrett, and Yori. So you should have 7 who've made non-mandatory stops. Arnold as well did indeed lead the end of the stage there over Kieran. So stage point to Arnold. What a waste that is, being a reserve driver. A bit like your podium last week.
And my stage points.
Yeah, and your stage point. Of course, I'm not one to talk. I have a stage point as well under my
exactly.
name. So
We were all just stat padding here in the commentary box this season.
Did you get some lap sledding as well last week? I think you did, didn't you?
I led a few
Good man,
laps.
good.
I did a safety car restart as well.
They're fun, aren't they?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So,
Bricking it a
where
little
does
bit
that
before it
leave
happened,
us?
but you know. This leaves us with Kieran leading the race, something that he's getting a bit more used to. But he does have to make that second stop, but the thing is he'll make it a lot later than others will. And people have taken non-mandatories, which puts him technically ahead of them. Say Arnold, he's now technically ahead of Arnold. He literally is, and technically is on the pit stops as well. So, you know, yes, there is benefits to pitting under safety car, but there are also things you lose out on. And so I think Kieran will still be sitting there a little bit confident. I'm not too sure what his penalty was for. I'm going to actually check that.
Whilst you do that, I'm going to give a quick rundown of the net race order. So down in P7, J. Luke is actually net leader, followed by Casper, followed by Jordan, and then it's back to the front. So Kieran is actually 4th. Sorry, Jamie Griffiths is 4th. So it's Jamie, Casper, Jordan, other Jamie, Kieran. That is the current net top 5.
Yeah. I'm just making sure of myself, actually. So it's, I think, 8 people, because OKK also made a stop, didn't he, under that safety car? So we had 8 people pitting that safety car, and that's it. Just Jamie, I'm surprised he pitted again, because he'd already finished his strategy, as had OKK too. So are they just going to go to the end now and just see what they can do? They're going to have a long way to go. The problem is, of course, Jamie's out there, J. Luke is out there as well. They need something to happen to him, really, I think.
It's the kind of day, though, if you make that extra stop, you know everybody else has to make a mandatory still. So, you know, Jamie G and OKK, they're in the hunt for a potential top 5 here if it all goes smooth sailing. I must admit, I'm glad you picked up on OKK's pit stop. I missed that, the non-mandatory.
I just checked race strategy just to make sure my counting was right. Well, because I'm making sure Red Matt. Did we mention Red Matt had?
Yes.
Yeah.
Red Matt was P3 on the road at the time.
Oh, it's a confusing system we got here. But well, we're doing our best of it. The drivers understand. Let's just say it's less confusing for the drivers because they only have to focus on themselves. We had to keep an eye on all 20 of them.
And it's easier when it comes to stewarding decisions because you're not asking for footage of did you have X amount of damage, what colour wing did you have. So it's actually a lot easier post-race as well, but it works. And well, we've got through 9 rounds this season, haven't we? So we're still going. Well, 8 rounds, we're into the 9th. But I just wonder if a safety car possibly in this lap, hopefully.
Well, yeah,
it is. There you go.
So I believe Kieran has possibly picked up this penalty either on the lap the safety car came out. Now I hope it didn't happen, after it came out, because that'd be a bit embarrassing. But he did have a 3-second penalty. That might affect him later on in the race. Pete will look at that penalty and think, good. I like a lot. I like very, very much. What a scene this would be if he could somehow win this one.
Oh, don't. It's what the people want.
It is. We've been waiting for it for a long time. Especially after his attitude after winning Season 1 with how cocky he was. He needs to do something to back it up. Let's get a win, lad.
He's made the playoffs every season since.
Never the Championship 5, though. Come on, lad. Come on.
Almost.
Make this your season. Make this your restart.
The ghost of Season 2, of course.
That'll haunt him until he makes it in again. But let's see. We know Kieran's good at the restarts, I know this firsthand. But will he pick the right moment? I don't see any reason why he won't. I mean, you've got plenty of grid lines here, and he knows he can go here. And he has gone. Looks like Red Mat's had the best... Or Arnold, sorry. Arnold's had the best start. He's going to try and get himself straight up into the lead. And that must be possibly the best executed restart I've seen in this rules set. He perfectly managed that. And we've got Connor up there as well, having a really good run at it. Pete just holding on against Red Mat. And is Kieran going to try and come back at Arnold? He certainly seems intent on doing so.
Connor.
But look at all of the weaving. And we can see Connor is defending nicely, but I think Pete will get him. That was a decent move in the end from Pete, who won't be too happy with how that restart went. He did get a bit mugged as Ben Spurs picked up a penalty. But yeah, Arnold, believe it or not, that's his first time trying these sets of restarts, right? So how is he so good at even this?
The thing is, I think he was helped out a lot by the fact Kieran was quite hesitant before the start-finish line there. He wasn't too sure when to go. I must admit it's my fault. I didn't actually put the picture out to show everybody, despite being given it, so that is my fault there. But Kieran at least knows the backup rule to that is to go on the timing line. And Arnold, of course, the later you leave it, the easier it is to anticipate, and Arnold just nailed it there.
Yeah. And he's pulled away very nicely indeed. And he's won the race. Let's just say he's won the race.
He's still got to make another stop though, you know. You got to look down to Casper, who is the current net leader. I don't know what's happened to J-Luke. It must have been a bad restart for a change.
I just don't have much faith in him being slow at the end. It's not that I want him to lose or anything. As we get a virtual safety car, this might shake it up a little bit, because Jordan's lost his front wing, and I think Gareth will be livid that he's just missed the opportunity to pit. Anyone who isn't pitting here, I think, is making a serious mistake. Because this is actually just a free pit stop. Unless you've already finished your strategy, of course.
My eye is immediately drawn to Jake as well in this. Catchman P13 at the moment.
I must say, I'm looking at Jamie now up into 9th place. That's a net second, we think.
That is. Net third.
Net third, sorry. This is going quite well.
Yeah, so maybe Arnold hasn't won this race yet as we look at 12 and a bit laps to go. Almost halfway. Next stage point at the end of lap 11. Imagine Arnold sweeping the stage points. A conversation I had with Iceman earlier in the week about when was the last time a stage was swept, or both swept stages and the win. It was, of course, Red Mat in France this season. The time before that, it was Jamie in Brazil last season. So not the most common occurring thing in the league. But we do get those races where you win both stages, you win the race.
Oh, that's a crash. A big one as well. Surely a safety car. Has to be. It's a car in the middle of the track, like. And I'm amazed the game's not putting a safety car out for this. Because we saw the crash happen live on the stream where Pete just lost it. And somehow we've stayed green. I cannot believe that, to be honest. Finally, there it is. It had to come eventually because that was a massive accident for Pete, who I'm very much aware I have just jinxed. But
as well.
It's not my fault, is it?
It's good news for Casper and Jamie and other Jamie.
Yeah. So Casper, Jamie, the net top 3,
and OKK net P4.
And OKK net P4, as you say. With the penalty, though, he'll be a bit annoyed at that. But at least the net top 3 haven't got any penalties to worry about. Arnold, he will probably wrap up the second stage point, but this safety car does obviously make his job a little bit more difficult. And maybe I've jinxed him as well. But how long is this going to take then to get everyone back in line? We've got Ben making another pit stop. Non-mandatory. Has he finished his stops? He must have done by this point. He's on his 4th stop now.
Yeah, that's his second non-mandatory. That, by the way, as well, I know everyone loves a stat. That is Ben Spurs going to the top of the most non-mandatory pit stops this season. He's top of that list, overtaking Yori Connor retires.
Yes, he's just flat out crashed in the Le Combe chicane. Maybe he had a bit of help from someone, but we've lost Connor from this race, seemingly out of nowhere. Wow, that's a surprise. That is a real surprise. And it was a shame, he was having an alright day as well. But he's now out. So, I wonder what Kieran is thinking as well. He's got a chance to close right up on Arnold. He has seen his own restart go a bit wrong. How about he makes his go a bit better this time, and then possibly it'll be a race to the pit lane at the end of the restart lap. I'm kind of suspecting that might be the case.
You know how earlier I said at the start of the stream, you are the bread to my butter? It's something that goes hand in hand, yeah?
Yes.
What doesn't go hand in hand? Arnold and restarts. Now, he got a lot of abuse for it last week, being at Portugal with the orange tyre barrier.
Yep, many a joke was made by you in that one. One
or two. But will he get this one right? 10 or 12, yeah, I'll go with that.
Well, it's, in theory, quite an easy restart. In theory. But, well, let's see. I suppose sometimes you could get a bit transfixed, where you're too busy looking at the grid hatchings, and then you're like, am I there? Oh, I'm there. Oh, I've missed it. Sometimes you're just not quite engaged. Even though you are engaged, you're not quite engaged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're looking at something for so long that when you actually get there, you're like, oh, I'm actually there. And then by the time you've realised you've lost. But we have Jake pitting for a front wing. Was that possibly then him who got involved in putting Connor in the wall? I don't know. Maybe Connor went himself. I'm not sure. Mind you, Connor actually in the Twitter chat seems to actually be blaming the game for it, so maybe it wasn't anyone hitting him off. But, well, it's a shame to see someone crash on the safety car anyway there. I don't know how many times that actually happens in this league. I'm sure there's a stat for it.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention there, Aaron. What was the... I heard stat and my ears pricked up.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how many times you've actually seen people crash under safety car. There seems to be a good track for mistakes under safety car.
Yeah, it is unfortunately not a stat I have available.
That would be a good
stat. Work out.
That would be a really fun stat. Just get every driver crashes under safety car. Arnold on this track would have about 6.
He does. Yeah, I remember that one race where he had 3.
High times have changed.
Indeed. Most successful driver in the league.
Both stage points, of course, tonight as well. He has now taken the second one for stage wins.
He is the all-time stage wins leader as well, oddly enough. So he's come back for one night and he just enhancing his record further. Laps led, stage wins, didn't quite get the pole. He might still get the win. But I have to say, it's looking very good for Casper, Jamie at the moment. So,
are those lights going to go out? Yes, they are. We have a restart. And, well, we have the driver who did the best on the last restart, starting from the front, and we have the guy who did the worst on the restart, starting behind him. In theory, this should be the easiest restart of Arnold's life. But, as we know, it doesn't always go to plan, and I wonder if he will now get trapped into the same... Wait, where am I actually supposed to go? That Kieran might have got into last time. Kieran himself will now know exactly what went wrong last time, and I'm sure he'll be a bit more on it this time, and it could give him a chance to get through. So, let's see what's going to happen as they come through the last corner. Can't pit, remember here, it wouldn't be counted as a mandatory, so I don't expect anyone to do that. Now, will Kieran get away? He does it decently well. I think Patino's actually done well against Red Matt, but Arnold still holds the lead, and we have a big sort of move, a late move from Red Matt to try and get back at Patino. That hasn't worked, and he doesn't quite get himself through. Now he's got Casper all over the back of him, trying to do something about that lead. The man in 4th place, but I'll tell you what, he's having a great run. Yeah, he's had a great run actually to get back at Patino. and he should have that done. Casper's not looking at getting through still, is he? Let's see. Will he go running outside? I suppose he's protecting his race lead, isn't he? Because that's where he is essentially right now. So maybe he doesn't want to end up in the wall, and he's got a good gap to the Jamies behind him. So I suppose he's done quite well.
Just needs to be sensible, does Casper? His focus is behind him rather than in front of him. As I believe Arnold's streaked away once again. Isn't he?
Just had a quick look at the YouTube chat. There are no jokers tonight. I know someone was actually asking about that, but there is actually no jokers. So yeah. That's one thing we do have to worry about, and one thing in the chat you don't have to worry about.
Some confusion, of course, may lie in that the tweet earlier this morning said there was one joker. That one joker couldn't race, unfortunately, so there are none. Yellow flags.
That is for Jake.
That's what a safety car out earlier. That did.
Yeah. Is there a front line still in that car? Yes.
I'm not getting the angles.
That'll be why it didn't come out then, because that, as you say, it brought out a safety car earlier. It tends to bring out safety cars. Here comes Casper on the inside of Vitinho, and the top two have pitted. We've got Arnold and Kieran. Red Matt will stay out into some nice clean air. And is Casper going to have to think about this move on Vitinho soon? Because Jamie is all over him, and as you said earlier, Jamie does think he can win this race, and Arnold is right at the back now, but I'm still not convinced on his pace. He has some soft tyres on now. He will be rapid. But let's see, Casper coming through on Vitinho. Will Jamie follow him through? He's actually saving his ERS, so he's not going to do anything rash. Vitinho, how hard is his defence? Not that hard at all, in fact. And Casper gets through. That actually spooked Jamie a little bit. He nearly went into the back. Oh, and he's now understeered wide a little bit, Jamie. So just got to be careful. This is, I'd still say, very much in his hands right now. But a second win of the season for Casper would certainly be fantastic news for him as well.
And speaking of wins, somebody who doesn't have one yet is Jamie Wright. But this was alighted to us earlier in the season, where he is a playoff merchant. Never been one for the regular season, but he comes alive in the postseason. So him not winning is not a bad thing. As you know, he won one in every round last season. But I think he will want to get through on Vitinho sooner rather than later. A tiny bit of lag from the Brazilian will be hampering Jamie as he looks to go around the outside here, does he? Yes, he does. Vitinho knows he's not fighting him. And through goes Jamie.
No, is he going to have to use the ERS here a bit more than he wants to, just to try and get into the 1 second gap as we see Redman to the pits. Jamie's gone wide at the last corner. That'll probably stop any chance of him getting DRS in this lap unless he has a superb turn 1. Can he get in that DRS zone? Because if he can, then it's race on this particular lap. And it'll be close. He's in, Jacko. And I'm telling you what, this will be a very nice run that he gets up the hill. And it will set him up for a move. Maybe not on this lap, but certainly later on in the race. Jimmy Griffiths is falling back a little bit. I don't think he's going to really be getting involved in this. But Jamie, give it a lap or two, and he will be in the fight for this lead.
And I tell you what, Jake O'Sullivan is still in this as well. I know he's got that penalty, but he's there, isn't he?
KK! Sorry to interrupt, but his strategy, it had recovered, but he's just been involved in an accident. It was 3 wide going into Lake Calm, and he's the one who's gotten unlucky and into the wall. And he's going to be right at the back now. Arnold will be coming through in a moment. Expect the fastest lap to come through from him soon. He's got 11 cars to get past before the end of the race. How far is he off the race lead? He's 12 seconds. Maybe not quite doable, but you know what? Honestly, I've watched enough of this guy to know that actually it pretty much is doable. But let's see.
Keep an eye on him. And just to alight your attention to Mr. Quiet, the man from Estonia, ST Mats runs P5 on the road. Vitinho's out.
No.
What's that going to be?
I could see a safety car or a virtual safety car coming from this. He is a long way off the roads, though, if judging by the map. It took a while last time for it to register, and his car's despawned, so there'll be no safety car. Now, it's someone else who, Mr. Quiet on SD Mats, he's up in P5. Look who's up in P6, having been right at the back earlier on.
And both of those stops are mandatory as well. So as it stands, Iceman will be regular season champion. And that would be good news for him, because he's not here next week to fight it.
That is a surprise to see out there, because he had fallen so far down. But getting to pit at the end of lap 1, yes, with damage, it may have actually been a blessing in disguise, because it's helped to recover his race.
Yeah.
Now, look at Jake. He's actually turned his DRS off. I've heard he's got some sort of failure on it, but I'd be surprised if that's possible. Well, it is actually, isn't it? But it shouldn't happen. But he's very quick. He's very quick right now. And
this is the Jake of old, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is what we expect from him.
It's the track where it nearly happened last season, isn't it? For his race win. Now, it needs a relative miracle for it to happen this season because of the penalty situation. So he's not going to win the race. But if he can just... Well, he's not even going to get a top 10. I mean, sure, the field will get spread out a little bit, but right now he would fall to around 12th place.
Oh, what a shame.
That is a shame. I didn't realise it was that bad.
No, I thought it was just 3 seconds, and then I just looked at the penalties there. 12 seconds. Maybe that's why he turned his DRS off, not to interfere with Jamie. Of course, Jamie not yet advanced to the playoffs. If he finishes P2, he will. He doesn't need to win, but of course he would like a win. But these top 3, they're all ART drivers, so surely they don't want to trip over each other. But we expect as well at the same time they do want a nice hard fight. We will have to see what happens with 5 to go.
Oh,
Risky's had a problem.
Wonder if he's got involved with Arnaud, who was right near him. Arnaud, who right now is 1.5 seconds a lap quicker than the front runners, so he's on course to catch them on the final lap. You know, this is my sort of AWS skills. We've got 6 to go. 6 laps of 1.5 second gain. You can do the maths. He'll be right there. And I have a bit of DRS as well, and this is also going to help in the midfield. Look at this, SD Mats and Iceman both coming through on Jamie. And SD Mats, well, I've asked for a podium, haven't I? And he's in 3rd place, based on the penalty that Jake has. So, yeah, good man, SD. Let's not lose it though now, because I feel really bad.
He was on the cusp of a podium in Monaco. He was there or thereabouts in Portugal as well.
Imola
it's
too,
coming, isn't it?
It's
It's coming. Yeah.
Imola was the one, but didn't quite happen.
It's going to happen this season. It has to, doesn't it? We see drivers, they go through phases. They have their highs and their lows. Some are always at the top. Some are always towards the bottom. But everybody has their moment. And we are still awaiting that moment for SD Mats. Christian Hataro of Estonia being hunted down at the moment by Iceman. Well, Iceman might even ruin his day yet, you never know. But back to the front, J-Luke battles continues with Casper. The gap is a lot smaller now though. Oh, Casper has a moment. This could be the time, Owen.
What's the strategy for Jamie? You don't want to be the car in front heading into Eau Rouge, to be brutally honest with you. So I think he has just held back, but I think when he comes to the top of the hill this time, it'll be a done deal. And I think Casper knows it. Casper's not using any ERS whatsoever. He's accepting his fate, but the problem is he might end up unintentionally letting 2 cars go here by being too slow. So look out for Jake coming through as well. Jamie will take the lead, or will he? Because Jake's quicker than both of them. And he's just backing off a little bit. And he does get by both. Or it does get by Casper anyway, I should say. So it's Jamie from Casper, or Jamie from Jake from Casper, from Iceman, who's now ahead of SD Mats again, so he has sort of ruined his day. Arnaud
missed that one.
Arnaud not closing as quickly as he was before, but still he's higher in the back of Jamie Griffith at the minute. So if he can get by quickly, then he might be able to get back on form, but this is holding him back a little bit. He really needed those front runners to actually fight a bit harder. Will he try and make a move into Fania or something, just to try and get this over with quicker, because he's on a much quicker and newer tyre. He's got the grip for this, but he hasn't quite got the space to do it, and you can see how much time it's costing him.
I'll tell you what, I think Arnaud's really enjoying his time back, isn't he? Having to fight back through the field.
He'll have the hunger after the end of this.
Definitely.
Trust me, his retirement is over. But I don't think he's quite able to get through, as Red Matt actually has taken advantage of this to get himself right up onto the back of Arnold, because Arnold's just lost too much time here. I think that's the hopes of victory gone, perhaps. He's through now, but it's at the cost of over a second. But look, who knows? We'll see the front runners fight a bit more, because I think that's possibly next on the agenda. I think Jake fancies taking the flat-out race lead now. Even though he won't keep it, he is going to get it. And that'll be an easy enough move. Will Casper do anything to try and sneak his way past Jamie? Don't think he's close enough. He's quite low on ERS as well. He's actually not in that strong of a position, as Jake gets it a bit raw on actually until they calm. That might have slowed him down a little bit. But Iceman's not really catching him at the minute. Despite being on newer tyres than Jamie and Casper, he could do with a very late safety car just to close him right up. We know what he's like on late restarts. We saw it in Imola. So, yeah, he's not a million miles away. I mean, he's still sitting net third. It's a very good result, and really it's all he needs to take the title of a regular season champion.
Oh!
I was on board for that.
Penalty, as you say that, yeah.
Oh, Jesus, why do I keep doing this to myself? He's 3 seconds in front of Red Matt, but there's a pretty good chance that Red Matt might make a place on SD Matt, so this might actually ruin his party today here, Iceman, if he's not careful. Oops. Sorry.
It's happened again.
It has, big time. And
I think we have a battle for the lead once again. Casper, unless Casper, because I know when he first started off the season, he wasn't in the parties with these guys, so he was still learning the league as such. I wonder if he's just going to let Jamie win this one and get him into the playoffs. Absolutely certain. Yellow flag's further back.
That could be a safety car. Look at this.
In a tyre barrier.
Yeah, that's an odd one. It would only be a 1-lap safety car, but I don't think they're putting anything out for this.
No,
yeah,
stay
well,
green.
They get away with that one. Now, Casper. I mean, there's nothing stopping him going for the win, is there, in fairness? I mean, Jamie still gets through with second place, right, as Arnold picked up a penalty as he gets past SD Max.
Yeah, because we're so far into the season, into the regular season, you know, Jamie just has to be where he is and he qualifies.
Yeah, so
advances to the playoffs, so it doesn't matter, he doesn't need the win.
I'm sure they'll have a good race. Hopefully they'll have a good race.
Don't forget as well, if Jamie Wright, if he does win this, he goes 2 clear of Arnold and Khalifa in the all-time wins list.
He'll like that.
He will like that. We were saying earlier how if Arnold were to win, he'd actually go level with Jamie, but it looks like it's going to swing the other way as things stand. Jake not pulling a 12-second gap, it would appear.
No, it's 15 now. I think he just picked
up
another one. Is it 15?
No, I missed that one.
I think it just happened there now. He'll finish 10th. Well, he might finish a bit better than 10th, actually. He might finish 9th. But it's not going to be P1. But look at this. Well, he is just about Jamie in DRS. But look what he's done. He's used all of his ERS. I tell you what, Jake, if he wasn't so trigger happy on the corner cuts, he'd be easily winning this thing. How frustrating is that?
That's
and I tell you what, this time
hurt him even more,
this time
isn't
he
it?
is in trouble. This time Jamie's in big trouble, but what's he going to do? Is he going to just go, oh no, I'm being overtaken, please pass me so I can get DRS for the final lap? Or is he going to try and fight this? Because I just don't think he'll have the straight line speed here.
Well, we'll find out in a couple of seconds. Here comes Casper.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. That is easy. So I think that'll be Jamie. He's going to do this and then hope by some miracle that he can win this on the last lap, but I do think with his ERS situation, this could be the writing on the wall, as Red Matt comes through on Arnold. Red Matt, who doesn't have a penalty, would be finishing on the podium as it stands with this. And that Iceman, where did he fall? Well, we'll see at the end. It might be a bit touch and go, actually, whether he does keep the regular season championship alive, but we'll keep our eye on it. I'm keeping an eye on this gap between Casper and Jake, and now it's not good. It
wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't be enough for Red Matt. Iceman would be regular season champion, even with those pens.
I think Casper really might struggle here unless Jakes has some sort of error. But he's on newer tyres, so I don't see that happening. And Jamie will sort of that's Esty Mats.
Oh man, come on! It's gonna happen one day. It will happen.
Just not today. And well, is he gonna try and struggle around this last lap with a broken front wing? He can't even go with fastest lap or anything. He's just ruined his race doing that. Casper, as we start the final lap then, is our net race leader. But look how close Jamie is to him. He hasn't got much ERS though. Will the slight advantage that Casper has on ERS keep him in the race lead? Or will Jamie be able to get himself through? I said you want to be here on the final lap. Getting this next DRS zone is the best one to get. But Jamie has run out of ERS effectively. Oh, will this be enough? We look from the rear of Casper's car and we will see the purple machine of Jamie coming through. Is he going to have the overspeed? Is he going to have to go for some sort of dive bomb? He's completely out of ERS and that's the result of it. Jamie's not going to get the win unless he can do something else on this lap or Casper picks up a penalty. I'm not sure either of those things are going to happen though. Casper's really managed this quite well. And in the end of the day, it's Jamie just not saving enough ERS, which is going to cost him. But, as we say, he should still get into the playoffs anyway.
Yeah, it's absolutely guaranteed. And what it does for Casper, assuming he wins it, it just enhances his position with those playoff points. Casper will actually go into the playoffs P3 if they started next week.
Oh, it's a big moment for Casper, though. That'll give Jamie a little bit of encouragement. Oh, I wonder if he just throws this into the last chicane, gives it a go. Yellow flag's up ahead. I think that's just for risky, but yeah, Jamie is giving this another go. Actually, they're both low on ERS this time, and this could be the dive bomb of all dive bombs into the bus stop chicane. It's by far the heaviest braking zone on the track. Casper is defending it, so he sees it coming. Can Jamie get an exit? No, he can't, and that'll be it. Casper is going to win for the second time this season in JACKOCAR. Jamie comes through second. A very close gap, must be right up there with one of the closest gaps we've had this season. Redmat does get P3. Iceman is regular season champion with P4. Arnaud 5th on his return. And, well, 6th place. That looks where he's ended up for Jake. Not too bad, actually, considering the amount of penalties he had. Jamie 7th, Kieran 8th, Yuri 9th, and Gareth in 10th. And I tell you what, that might not be too bad for his playoff ambitions with the likes of Pete off, Esty behind him. Is he back in?
Gareth is in. He's in the playoffs with that at the moment. And just to confirm as well, Iceman has a 21-point lead over Redmat. So whatever Redmat does, even if he wins in Austria without Iceman here next week, which he isn't, Iceman is guaranteed regular season champion for season 5. It's been somewhat of a curse in previous seasons. The only man to ever convert it was Khalifa in season 3, as Casper dishes out some copies of that awful game on the podium. But yeah, I think it's set up nicely in playoff terms, or for the playoff bubble next week, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that all pans out. The mistake by ST Mats at the end of that, I wonder how costly that's going to be, because it's 3 places we're fighting over here. Because Jamie's in, right? And Kieran, he's also advanced, isn't he? Even though he hasn't got the win.
Before this race, he was through on points.
So, we go into next week looking for the 8th, 9th and 10th members of the playoffs. But the results today, it's pole to victory for Casper then, from Jamie in 2nd, Redmat 3rd, Iceman, Arnaud, Jake, Jamie, Kieran, Yuri and Gareth. Then we've got Jordan, SD Mats, Ben, Jake, OKK, Risky, and then a DNS, Vitinho, Connor, Pete and MK Bourne.
Enjoyable little race that.
Yeah, good fun that.
Top 10 for Yuri again, as ever, always there. Jamie Griffiths in the top 7 once again. That's the 3rd time this season he's done that. He's starting to close the gap to the playoffs, but I think it might be a little bit too late. He's going to have to go into next week with possibly in a must-win situation, but we will see when the points are added up tomorrow night.
And so,
any final words, Owen?
First of all, keep your eye on JACKOCAR's Twitter to see the standings, so you have an idea of what we'll be going into next week, which is the final race of the regular season. And as I say, 3 playoff spots to fight for. It'll be Austria as usual, and we all know how good of a race that is consistently season after season. So you absolutely want to be there. Me and Jacko will, and we'll be very much looking forward to seeing how this all pans out. I really can't predict it because with SD Matt's mistake at the end, in the wall earlier for Pete at the same corner, you know, just a mistake like that next week could either make or break your championship. And I mean that in the sense of qualifying might actually not be the best thing if you're, say, Pete, who may fancy an easy run through the chase. So I really wonder what the strategy is going to be for this all next week. I'm fascinated.
Classic JACKOCAR, isn't it? But we'll have to wait and see. Next week is merely the beginning of the ending of the season. It's the playoffs in 2 weeks' time. But Owen Wyatt, thank you very much once again. Good to have you back, by the way.
Yes.
Saves my voice.
Yes, and I'm glad to be back, and I'm looking forward to next week as we continue our last races on this awful game. Mind you, I must say, we didn't get much reveal about F1 22 earlier on, but hopefully it'll look good. And yeah, hopefully we can have a good end to the races in this game, but trust me, I'm looking forward to getting rid of it. But anyway, we've rambled enough. We will see you 7 PM next week. One of the biggest races of the season, the Austrian Grand Prix. Be there. Safe travels.